Hello, North Adams. I so wish that we could be together in person, but I'm afraid we're just going to have to do this by video. I am glad to join you for the third iteration of the Time of Now Festival. I want to say a special thank you to Christy and to Susan for having me here and for putting on this really terrific event. Time of Now serves as a great example of how powerful art can be. MASS MoCA and all of the artists featured here have created a space where communities and visitors from all over the world get a chance to come together and really to connect. You know, I have been especially taken by Kelly Ray Adams' Forever in Your Debt installation. This is an incredible piece of art that so clearly demonstrates the magnitude of the student debt crisis. Many of you may know that over the last few years, I've been fighting to try to cancel student loan debt. I've been using data and facts and figures to make my case. But this installation goes to show that there are other powerful ways to communicate just how urgent this fight is. More than 40 million Americans are being crushed by nearly $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. There is scarcely a working person in America, or even in this audience, who does not have a friend or family member or coworker weighed down by debt. In Massachusetts alone, more than 900,000 people hold over $30 billion in student loan debt. Just let that sink in for a minute. $30 billion. The 900 bowls in Kelly's exhibit represent the average student loan debt in our country, $37,000. This is the weight that is holding back tens of millions of Americans, holding them back from starting a family or buying a home or starting a small business or saving for retirement. Weight that is keeping too many families underwater. These are good people who did exactly what America told them to do. They tried to advance their education, but they come from families that didn't have enough money to send them to school, and now they are being chewed up by a broken student loan system. You know, I graduated from a state school that cost $50 a semester, 50. And that was something I could afford on a part-time waitressing job. The reason that was possible is that as a country, we had agreed to invest in the education of our children. But those opportunities just don't exist for working families anymore. And that is why we should not be surprised that the vast majority of borrowers are not wealthy Ivy League alums that the opponents of student loan debt cancellation conjure up. No. 99.7% of the people with federal loans did not attend an Ivy League school. In fact, the single biggest group of borrowers, the borrowers who owe a lot of the coins in Kelly's exhibit, are people who never graduated from a four-year college. You know, who are we talking about? We're talking about people who took out debt to go to local state school, community college, an HBCU, trying to become a teacher or a nurse's aide or a mechanic. Folks who took out debt or signed off on debt for beloved grandkids so those grandkids could have better opportunities in life. Folks who tried college, but then life happened. You know, somebody got pregnant, maybe a family member got sick, or they fell behind working two jobs and weren't able to finish their degree at all. And we can't forget that people of color need this relief most of all. Borrowers of color take on more debt to go to school, take on more debt while they're in school, and have a harder time paying it off when they get out. I could do these data all day long, but I'm going to give you just one stat that just continues to knock me backwards. We have now studied what happens to people 20 years after taking out debt. Typical white borrower owes about 6% of what they originally borrowed. Think about that. 20 years of making payments, and they still owe 6% of what they originally borrowed. The typical black borrower owes 95% of what they originally borrowed. 20 years later, and they have barely made a dent in the principal that they borrowed. And that is why I'm in this fight. By canceling student debt, President Biden would expand opportunities for millions of working Americans. He would help narrow the racial wealth gap among borrowers by as much as 29 percentage points if he canceled $50,000 of student loan debt. And he'd provide immediate relief to families struggling with higher costs at the grocery store and the gas pump. Student debt cancellation would lift communities across Massachusetts and across this country. So let me just wrap this up by saying thank you, Kelly. I am very grateful to you for tackling the issue of student loan debt from another perspective and for showing us right down at the level of the heart what it means to carry debt like this. So thank you for your powerful work. And again, thank you all for having me with you today.